name is Austin Mitchell, and I'm going to be presenting my speech on Daniel Morgan. The American Revolution was arguably the greatest victory in America's short history, and it led to the start of this great democracy we now have. The victory is most famously credited to a general by the name of George Washington, who would go on to serve as the first president of these United States. What is lost in history is the great effect that the militia leaders had on the outcome of the revolution, specifically Daniel Morgan. In an article he wrote, James Frasset wittingly states, Daniel Morgan was the most successful field leader of the American Revolution, and perhaps the least remembered. In researching Morgan, I have found that he truly was one of the most underrated difference makers in this war. He and his 500 sharpshooters would actually turn the war in the favor of the colonies within months of deployment. The importance Morgan had on the outcome of this war is one of the main reasons we have made it to the point we are at in this great nation. His brilliant strategies and his incredible defeat of General Burgoyne at the Battle of Saratoga highlight the reasons why he's one of the most underrated officials in the history of America. First off, I will be discussing his brilliant strategies. So the American forces were outnumbered at the start, and the average British soldier had about 5 times more experience than that of his American counterpart. This stat was taken from episode 2 of the documentary series entitled America, the Story of the U.S. At the start, the Americans were losing the war and were in desperate need of troops, supplies, and of course, new tactics to weaken the British defenses. Because of this, Morgan helped develop one of the most unheard of strategies to date. The strategy consisted of extreme use of guerrilla tactics and using the element of surprise to his complete advantage. Whether it was placing roadblocks in the path of the British Army or targeting the officers as redcoats trekked through unfamiliar woods, Morgan was always one step ahead. A quote from NPS.gov, which is a website sponsored by the National Parks Organization, states, Morgan knew his men and his opponent, knew how they would react in certain situations, and used this knowledge and the knowledge of the terrain to his advantage. Morgan was a genius in battlefield tactics, a trait which British forces failed to realize until it was too late. Secondly, I will be discussing his great defeat of General Burgoyne at the Battle of Saratoga. The British general absolutely despised Morgan and had little respect for him and his militia as he consistently broke the rules of warfare. Morgan knew this, of course, and used this to his advantage. According to the AmericanRevolution.org, it is said that his greatest victory came in the Battle of Saratoga, a battle which historians consider the biggest turning point in the American Revolution. In January 1781, the Continental and British forces came to a head in the fields of Saratoga. Outnumbered as usual, the Americans were desperate for victory, and their supplies and resources were dwindling. Knowing that the militia was known to retreat under fire, Morgan lined up his sharpshooters for the battle. He had them fire twice and then retreat behind a hill, making it seem as if the British were going to crush them. This looked like a final move of desperation. However, on the other side of this hill was the Continental Army. Unknowingly sending his men into an ambush, British General John Burgoyne aggressively commanded his army to charge. When the redcoats charged over the hill, they were driven back and defeated, in an otherwise sure win for the British. This victory is obviously owed to Daniel Morgan and his idea. As seen behind me are depictions of the battle. These images were retrieved from landofthebrave.info. The specifics of this battle and the importance of Morgan's strategy were also acquired from revolutionarywararchives.org. The momentum of this battle ignited the Continental Army and led them to their final defeat of British forces in the Battle of Yorktown, ending the Revolution, ending British rule, and starting the era of the United States of America. Looking back, it was Morgan's unconventional strategy and his defeat of General Burgoyne in the Battle of Saratoga that made him, and only him, the difference we as a nation could not live without. He used his men, he used his reputation, and his battlefield tactics mostly to lead this nation to an unforeseen victory over the British. The war might not have ended with the same result had it not been for Morgan and his men. He is the ultimate war hero that nobody knows about, which is why we owe him and his men a lot more recognition in this great victory for America. And these were the sources I used: revolutionarywararchives.org, theamericanrevolution.org, nps.gov, and America, the Story of the U.S., which is a documentary. Thank you.